Welcome to the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast. My name is Demetrius. This podcast is for fans of the Detroit Lions, fans of football, friends of mine, or just, really cool people. This is week 13 of the 2024 NFL season. We always start off, especially this week, acknowledging the godfather of the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast, the super producer extraordinaire, Mr. Mike Ward, who is a Bears fan, who I have talked to today and communicated with today. And so, yeah, there's that. Um, this one is interesting. So much to talk about. Sometimes with this podcast, we roam around, we do some different things, we try and keep it interesting. Today, this game at halftime, I thought, what am I going to talk about? Well, I found out in the second half what I'm going to talk about. So first of all, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope if you're watching, I appreciate it. I hope the food's good. I hope you're getting some quality time with the people you love. Our Gridiron Heroes came in 10-1, having won 9 straight, but having lost 7 straight Thanksgiving Day games. So there was a degree of a story here around that. Um, I think the podcast gets interesting now because I have to say crazy things like my team won 10 straight games. Right. Finals 23-20. We're going to dig into that. We're going to talk about the ending. We're going to talk about the game. So, yeah, so the format today is going to be simple. I'm going to talk about the game or maybe games. It felt like 2 games. There was a game in the first half, and then there was something in the second half. Um, but getting to say my team won their 10 straight game and they did not play perfectly. They didn't play well in the second half, but they still won. And so all of this is new, right? 6 years in this podcast, and I feel like I'm starting every podcast by saying the same thing, which is this is all new ground for me as a Lions fan, for the podcast. But today, yeah, just kind of keep it 3 parts. Talk about the game, plural. Talk about the ending, a couple of points around the ending that I just can't help myself. And then we're going to take 3 questions, like it's a staple of the podcast. So a couple of things before I jump in. For those of you who are experiencing some type of angst, there's a difference. It's a fine line, but there are 2 words that people don't always differentiate correctly: reason and excuse. Right? Sometimes there's something that if you deliver it incorrectly, it sounds like an excuse, when in fact it is a reason. So and we won the game. I'm sorry, I got to remember to say that to myself and to some of the listeners. We won the game. That is super important to remember during this, where I might sound like a guy talking about a loss. I'm certain there will be. They won the game. That's all that matters, right? Like there's some fundamental truths about the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast that for those of you who are new, you need to know about me. You need to know about the podcast. And there's a handful of people that are influential, and I reference them all the time. We have some fundamental truths in homage to the play Hamilton. One, donuts never harmed anybody. If you don't like donuts, we can't be friends. Sorry. That's come on. 2, Aaron Rodgers is in fact the devil, and I will despise him with every fiber being until the day the good Lord chooses to bring me home. Yeah. And the third, and there's probably more, but the one that's really relevant, the donuts and Aaron Rodgers was largely gratuitous. We never apologize for a win. I will never get on this podcast and make an excuse when they've won. I will, however, maybe delve into the reasons why the win wasn't as pretty as we liked. Why a game that's 16-0 at halftime can be given to you by the boneheadedness, if that's a real word, of the other team's coach, right? I could talk just about the first half, and I will a bit, how dominant the Lions were. And I could tell you that's who I think they are. But then I would have to explain to you what the hell the second half was. And I got to be honest, I don't have an explanation for the second half of that football game. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things though. One, they have a rash of injuries. Like from the start of the season, they have lost 10 defensive linemen to injury. I could go down the list. You know Hutch is out. You probably forgot about Davenport and Kaminsky. They're missing so many guys at every level of the defense. They're missing people. And so when I look at this game, as much as it reminded me that I'm a Lions fan, and I remembered the old feeling of having the angst of, oh no, I had that briefly. I won't lie. Sure. I also thought it through. I dug deeper. It still doesn't feel like they get a pass rush, but I think they had 4 sacks. There were key plays where there was no pressure. So I had to remind myself, wait, we don't have Barnes or Anzalone. We don't have we don't have Hutch. We don't have Kaminsky. We don't have Davenport. We lost Pascal in the game. We lost Levi during the game. Injuries are a thing. We one of the other tenets is though we don't use injuries as an excuse because every team has injuries. So I'm not going to do that either. Um, there are injuries. So you get a little bit of the cornbread and Kool-Aid today. I'm going to do a little bit of it, and then I'm going to try and stay borderline objective, which I don't like to do. One, I've already told you, we never apologize for a win. First of all, it was a division win, which even if it's the Bears, it's a division win. They're huge. They could play a role in tiebreakers. I don't think they will because I think we're the best team in the league, and tiebreakers won't matter when it's all said and done. It's Thanksgiving win. That's a big deal in the city of Detroit. If you're a Lions fan, you know this. If you're not, let me explain to you that despite efforts in the past of others, like a particular clown on ESPN that I don't happen to like, people have wanted to take that game from Detroit. It's not just a game, right? If you grew up in Michigan, that's a part of Thanksgiving. It's synonymous. The when you eat is determined by the game. In the rare occasion where they play a 4 o'clock game, you eat early, right? When they play the normal game, you eat later. It is important to the city of Detroit. It is a part of the fabric of the city of Detroit. I think that um, you cannot just think of this game as a game. So losing 7 in a row was a big deal, and you took care of that. You got a reminder that it's a 60-minute football game. You got a reminder that while you're almost certainly the best team in the NFC, probably the best team in football, a serious Super Bowl contender, you still got to play. You got to play all 60 minutes. So I'm going to chalk up some of the second half to lax, and it might be at every level, including play calling, my quarterback. I'm going to call some of it the Bears are NFL players. We joke they're NFL players on the other side. Some of them are pretty good. And I'm sure when they went in down 16-0 at halftime, their coaches said things to them that they didn't want to hear. And their coaches changed how they called the game. You saw a different type of play calling from their OC in the second half. But the best part about the game is you didn't get to leave feeling great. You know you got work to do. You still know there's some stuff you got to work on. That's a benefit. To me, that's a great thing. I don't mind putting 50 on the Dallases and the Jacksonvilles of the world. I don't mind stealing that win in Houston against a good team because last week I've told people people have told me that was a boring game against Indy. Okay, that's all good. You know what they all were? Wins. And you know what an ugly, laxed gift win is better than? It's better than a loss. I mean, I'm not trying to be cute. That's just the way it is. And if you win 15 games, which this team has a real shot to do, they're not all going to be pretty. I just told somebody who asked me. I think the question was, are you happy with the win, or do you feel okay about the win? And I said, my friend Art Wright and I have a saying: you never apologize for a win. You just don't. Um, so it will be an interesting podcast because I got a lot of thoughts and a lot of things to say, but it will not be one in which I will be apologetic at all. Completely unapologetic. You take every win you can get. I think so. So I'll jump right into the game. The beginning, you saw the execution that you wanted to see to a degree, right? I think they were running the ball well. I think together the guys had 175 yards. You saw what they can do, the cutbacks, 7, 8, 9 yard gash runs. That's how you dominate the line of scrimmage. That's how you take a team's soul. That's how you show a team who you were playing against. And that can be boring. That can look boring. But when you're winning games, nothing's boring. I don't really care. So I liked it that they ran the ball well because I still believe, no matter what people think, and I love my quarterback, we're a running team. The Lions are a running team. They pound you in the face with the running game. And when you can do that, a key underrated stat that people often forget about, time of possession. And someone texted me just like we're wearing out their defense in the first half, and that was absolutely true. It is something that when you dominate time of possession, you're imposing your will, you are dictating terms of the agreement, for lack of a better quote. And I saw that in the first half. So obviously, I loved almost everything I saw in the first half, but I did feel like we left 14 minimum 14 points. I think two of those field goals should have been touchdowns. It's probably 8 points. And I think the Gibbs fumble late in the half should have been more points. I wasn't really worried that the Bears would make us pay. Turns out I should have been maybe. But in general, that's an opportunity. That's something Dan Campbell and the coaching staff during meetings this week can tell them. There were plays in the first half that almost cost us. Now there's a bunch in the second half. Certainly almost cost you the game. But obviously felt good about the first half. I felt good in quarterback all day. And I think that one of the things that gets underrated because his completion percentage has been so high during this stretch. And I think the stretch is 9 games, take out Houston, maybe 8 games, where he has played a different level of football. And so I, as well as others, we raised the bar, right? They're talking about him as MVP. The expectations are higher, and I'm good with that. But something that goes underrated because statistically it works against him is some of his incompletions are some of the smartest decisions. I think there were 5 today where the thing about golf, I can't do a golf thing. Andy's going to get mad. I can't do a whole golf thing. I'm just going to say he made a lot of good decisions today that did not result in incompletions. One is throw the ball away, live to play another down. He threw one out of the back of the end zone. He'll throw one at the foot of a receiver. Some of that is live to play another day. But I'm only allowed a certain amount of golf love before I start getting, comments from people that, I'm all over the golf bandwagon. It's 100% true, so it doesn't bother me. But I don't want to do 20 minutes on. I'd do an hour on golf, but I won't. And I think that ultimately the defense played well in the first half. I think one of the things I saw was the stat they only had 2 first downs and 53 total yards in the first half of a football game, an NFL game. That is remarkable. That is remarkably difficult to do. And when you think about all of the people I talked about they were missing at every level of the defense, they're missing multiple guys. Carlton Davis didn't play. Terry Arnold was on a snap count. He couldn't play every down. When you looked at it and you thought about and the guys up front that they're missing, and like I said, they lost Levi and Pascal during the game. When you think about that, then it's scheme. It's how you do it. And there are guys stepping up. And that's impressive. It really is. So I think that when you look at everything that they did in totality, it's actually a good win. It doesn't always feel, every win doesn't feel like a good win, but it's a good win. Um, Not because of all the stuff they did well. I think it's a good win because A, you got to win. It's a division win. It's to break the Thanksgiving streak, but you played poorly enough, and poorly is a strong word. You played to a level where you can't just roll into work Monday or Tuesday or whenever and feel good about this. You know you've got work to do. You know you've got work to do. Oh, trust me. I don't know if it's Ejo or Ejo 487. You are 100% right, and I'm gonna get to that. So the comment is JMO's a problem. I couldn't agree more. I'll be there in a minute. Trust me. We're gonna get there. I'm just gonna kind of move on to the second half. I wanted to break up the first half and the second half. Loved it. Halftime, I was very happy. Halftime, I thought, okay, They took this seriously. They came out to take care of business. They're doing what they should do. And you're up 16-0. I was a little concerned because it probably should have been 24-0, 27-0. That might have been a different game. Maybe you take their heart, like literally, but you take their will. You convince them that they can't come back. But um, they came out in the second half, and that first drive didn't bother me, but I didn't love it. Right? I saw pressure issues. I saw them calling a different game. I saw Caleb getting rid of the ball faster, doing all the right things. They were blitzing us a lot, trying to get Goff off his game. I was still a little upset about the fumble, but I really liked what I saw in the first half, and I thought, okay, at some point you just impose your will. You're the better team. So there wasn't the pressure that I wanted, and the pressure they were getting was scheme related. So I like Zadarius. He's making an impact. I miss Hutch. I hope he comes back. Pasco was playing well. We have a very real pressure problem, not because we can't do it. And you're right, they made some adjustments in the second half that were great. You saw that. And they're an NFL team. I have to remind myself, we're not playing a high school team. They're an NFL team too, with NFL players and NFL coaches. And I'll give the Bears credit until the last minute, which we'll get to that. But they came out in the second half and made adjustments. You saw that. I think that the injuries on the back end are important to remind you of, because pressure is not just the front. I think we sometimes get deceived into thinking that. But when they have Carlton Davis and a healthy Terrion Arnold, they frequently will play man. That frees up another guy. Zone, they played a lot of zone today. That literally frees up another guy. A guy you can blitz, a guy you can do a lot of things with, help your front four get pressure. We did not have that for the better part of today. So as the game goes along, I was seeing the impact of the amount of zone we were forced to play, the impact of Carlton Davis. He is, in his absence today, become one of my favorite players, an acquisition that Brad Holmes traded for, even though the narrative is Brad Holmes is only good at drafting. We miss Carlton Davis today. Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold together, we really miss because we had to scheme differently. All that said, the statistics, the metrics will tell you they got pressure, that they got 4 sacks, that they presented problems for Caleb Williams. And I think factually that's accurate. It didn't always feel like that in the game. So when you see the Bears score and you think, okay, you don't want to give them hope. And that's what it did. And we came back and scored. And I thought, okay, we might have shut them down. But the key point to me, there's a few key moments. One of them, they had an opportunity for a key moment with about 12 minutes left. And DJ Reader got a sack that probably should have been grounding or maybe a fumble. I didn't delve yet. But it kind of killed that drive. So I thought, okay, dagger time. And then you have JMO, right? So I don't know what the overall narrative of JMO wants to be. I am a person who believes in grace and mercy and tolerance. So I'm the dude. And I eat cornbread and drink Kool-Aid all day, every day. I'm an optimist in life, and multiply that by 1,000 when we're talking about this football team. But I know who I am. On your favorite sports radio show, they would call me a slappy or a lemming or what. I don't really care. Right? I know who I am. I'm tired. I'm tired. I've made excuses. I was the guy who was saying, "Oh, he's just a young kid," or "He's just emotional," or "He's just tired." I'm tired. For those of you with sensitive ears, the bullshit has to stop, JMO. Sorry, I'm there now. Now the biggest cornbread and Kool-Aid, dude, I'm your supporter. Your talent, your skill set is amazing. The way you play the game inspires me, excites me. I love watching you play football, but the bullshit's got to stop. I'm sorry. You almost cost us that game today. You almost cost us that game today. That was, and I knew one day that you cost them. I had hoped it wouldn't cost them a game or some big thing in some big moment. But at that point, we're up 10. We have the ball on their side of the 50. We had an opportunity to put a dagger in them, to put our foot on their neck, trophy room mentality, which I haven't used a lot this year. So I'll remind those of you new to the podcast, I have a really good friend who's a Packer fan. And we're at a Lions game. He lives in Michigan. And the guy says to him, "Why are you wearing that Packers jersey?" And he says, "Hey, I'm from Wisconsin. I live here in Michigan." And the guy says, "Yeah, you shouldn't be wearing that jersey here." And he says, "Hey, where's the trophy room? I like your stadium. Where's the trophy room? I want to go see the trophy." The guy looked, "What are you talking about? Trophy? What do you mean?" He was like, "Well, at Lambeau, we got a room where we keep our Super Bowl trophies. You guys have a trophy room?" And it was a really, really simple message. You're not there yet. Your team doesn't play with the mentality of a team that wants to build a room specifically to put their Super Bowl trophies. That's what I didn't see today. I thought about trophy room mentality. 16-0 at halftime should have been 24-27. I'm not allowed to say bad things about Ben Johnson because he's the golden child. And I like Ben Johnson. They did not play today with a trophy room mentality. And JMO needs to be sat down, needs to be told and understand that when you're up 10 on their side of the 50 with an opportunity for a dagger touchdown, you've got to stop behaving like a child. Whatever happened on the sideline, I don't care. You're at work. You're on your job. You have a job to do. You made the play. Get your ass back to the huddle. It's that simple. That simple. Somebody's got to tell him that. And I don't know if it's just that throughout his life, his immense talent has afforded him the opportunity to continually behave like a child. So he doesn't realize it. But now you're 3 years in. You are in a unique and special situation with an organization that's never been there, with a head coach, with leaders on this team, with an opportunity. You're 11-1. It's an opportunity for this team to do something that they've never done, ever. Today, you almost messed up. You almost messed up. You're talented, but you got to grow up. How do you not see this? How does something in you say, whatever that guy said to me, whatever I need to say to him, I'll say it after the game. I'll tweet it. I'll have somebody else tweet it for me. I'll get a Kevin Durant burner phone and post it. There's a better way than costing your team 15 yards at a critical. It shouldn't have been a critical game. And if you guys score there, it's 30-13. The game is probably over. The game is probably over because there is a mentality piece to this that when they do something and you come right back and score and go, okay, what you just did didn't matter. And then they score again. And if you would have went down and scored another touchdown, okay, what you did just didn't matter. At some point they go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we do. And that was that moment. And I think that drive ended in a missed field goal. If I'm not mistaken, no shade to the kid who's hit every field goal until today. Nah, that game, and you allowed them to still have hope. The defense was playing lax. Some of it injury, some of it, I don't know. Save your Kendall Vildor notes. I'm not bashing that kid. I'm not. JMO, I don't, he will never see this. He doesn't give a damn, I'm sure. I just don't want immature ego bullshit to cost my team something that matters. Whether that's a 1 seed, whether that's a playoff game, an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. I don't even know. I just feel like I see a train that's on he can't figure it out. He can't get out of his own way. And if it does, this town, the fans of the team will never let you forget it. Right? You don't want to be that dude. You don't want that. You're too good. You're too good. So all you got to do is grow up. So I'll leave it there and just say, grow up, bro. I need you to grow up. Yeah. So yeah, I'm open to comments. If you disagree with me or you think I'm out of line, drop something in the comment section. I see 487 is behind me, so I feel good about it. I'm fairly certain Art's with me. But let's talk about the end, right? The end. 2 parts. Okay, I'm gonna get on a soapbox. I don't generally do this, but the National Football League spends a lot of time worrying about a term they call integrity of the game, right? Um, Great point. Sorry. Yeah, we would have lost that against a better team. We should have lost that against them, but we would have lost that game against a better team if JMO keeps it up. The NFL worries about their reputation. They're well second to money because everything in that league's about money, right? I don't have a problem with that. It's a capitalist society. They're a business. I have no problem. I have no problem. Their biggest concern, what they will tell you is their biggest concern is integrity of the game. And now that they're firmly in bed with gamblers, it's a specifically unique line they have to dance on, right? That pass interference call, and I've watched a lot of games. I don't generally do. I'm this old. I've seen this many games. I'm 55 years old. I've been watching the Lions since I was 9. 1978, I went to a game at the Pontiac Silverdome. I've watched a lot of football. I'm not an expert. Everybody listening to this podcast probably knows as much football as I do, if not more. It may have been the worst call I've ever seen. Now, there are other games. There was a New Orleans, Minnesota game, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 years ago. Atrocious. Cost the team a playoff game. It'll happen again. It might happen again today. It might happen Sunday. That was one of, for sure. And I'm not just saying it because I'm a Lions fan. I'm talking about a whole different thing, right? A play like that, a call like that, is going to cost a team a game. And it might be a big game, similar to what happened in New Orleans, Minnesota. That game should have been over. If the ref doesn't make that call, or if they have the integrity, using their word, to pick up the flag, to one of those other guys comes over and says, yo, this guy scrambled and threw up a Hail Mary. That ball wasn't catchable. Or if New York, who had no problem calling down a few weeks ago and saying throw Brian Branch out of the game, how come someone in New York didn't call down and say that's not a PI? The spirit of the rule, the letter of the rule, in no world is that pass interference. And so the end of the game for me was largely this bubbling cauldron flashback to Calvin Johnson and the process, ironically against the Bears, of wait, we can beat every team in the league. I consistently say the only team that can beat the Lions is the Lions. Oh shit, I forgot about the refs. Because the refs have beaten us more than once. I'm not doing KJ Wright batted ball. I'm not doing pick up the flag Brandon Pettigrew in Dallas. I'm not going to do it. You can see that I want to, but I'm not. I have forgot about the refs. How the refs have no problem screwing the Lions. A history. As a Lions fan, that was the thing that bubbled up in me. It was never SOL. I never believed in SOL. I thought we had 50 years of bad GMs, and we've got a good one in Brad Holmes. I thought Mr. and Mrs. Ford tried their best. They're nice people, but Sheila understands how to do this job. She understood hiring Chris Spielman was smart. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell. Brad Campbell would be a fantastic human being, wouldn't he? Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, go down the line. St. Brown, Panay Sewell. There's a list. It starts with Sheila and it goes down and there's 15, 20 names on it. That's why we are where we are. There was no curse. There's no such thing as SOL. None of that stuff ever existed to me. And it still doesn't. Now that we're good, I'm not just saying that. I got 6 years of podcasts. You can look them up in the archives. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. You can find them. I make fun of the person who says that stuff. I mock the guy who says that stuff. But back to my point. Sorry. Jump down the rabbit hole. I'm prone to do that. The NFL has an officiating problem. They don't see it because they're making so much money. They don't see it because they're too busy trying to add an 18th game. They're too busy trying to put a game on every day of the week. They're too busy trying to play a game in every city in Europe. They're too busy trying to make up platforms to put games on to make more money because they print money. They print money. And I get that. But you need full-time officials. When the season's not in, they should be in class. They should be officiating mock games. They should be in officiating college games, whatever. They should be full-time refs. It should not be some accountant who does this part-time, some high school principal. That As much as JMO's attitude is bullshit, right? And you want to see what happens when one of your officials' incompetence costs some real gambler real money? Okay, that's the train you're on. That's what's going to happen. You're going to really impact someone somewhere, and it's going to be a problem. You have an officiating, and it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Only the Lions won the game that I'm not louder and throwing things around my, well, I'm not really prone to do that. I like the stuff in my house. I don't throw stuff. But that call seriously almost cost the Lions. Game should have been over. That was a fourth down play. If you don't make that horrific call, the game is fundamentally over. And for a league that says it cares about integrity, says you don't want to become the WWE. You say that. You will not address this officiating problem that you have. You will not acknowledge it. You won't even call them out. And it's not hard, right? You can create an accountability scorecard. And every week you can publicly publish every call a ref made, give it a grade. You can demote guys. You can decide who gets to work the playoffs based on their score. An accountability scorecard. This is not difficult. This is not difficult. And had their coach not, what term do I want to use? I want to stay clean. Had their coach not absolutely crapped the bed, this would be a different podcast. I would have violated the rule of don't blame the officials. I would have ignored almost every other aspect of this game and talked about the refs. This is not hard. Is it money? Of course it's money. But you're going to sell the rights to 3 games to some new streaming platform day after tomorrow and make $10 billion anyway. It's not that much money, but you should have a developmental system where young guys, I'm 55, so I'm not even doing ages, and there are a bunch of guys out there in their 50s and 60s who are great officials. I'm not even saying all refs are bad. I'm saying you're not going to hold this guy accountable. You're going to put out some statement Saturday or Monday about that call and that ref that will do nothing to ensure that this won't happen again, because that's what you always do. Because something in your structure says don't allow people to believe that the refs are wrong. Fans can handle ref incompetence because we know they're human beings. When we start to believe that they're corrupt, when you get a Tim Donaghy situation, just a rumor, Tim Donaghy is an NBA ref who was gambling on games, and it hurt that league a lot. It hurt the integrity of that league. You don't want that. Incompetence can be addressed. Incompetent officiating is not going to have some gambler saying and doing things, because you're in bed with a different kind of person now. People are betting money on these games. And somebody probably lost money anyway because the Lions didn't cover. But somebody who might have had the Lions straight up, and if the Bears had won that game because of that atrocious call, you have demonstrated to us that you have the ability to correct mistakes. Where's the call from New York that says pick up that flag, right? It is important. If you're going to stay in bed with gamblers, and I know you are because you care about the money, and I'm not mad at you, you have an officiating problem. The integrity of your league, based on the competency of your officials, is at risk. That's all I'm saying. And there's an easy fix. It will cost you. Make them full-time. Institute a development program. Have guys at school learning how, and in 3-4 years, you got a whole new crop of well-trained officials ready to roll in. As guys retire and move on, you are making a mistake by closing your eyes and plugging your ears to a very real officiating problem. That's all I got to say. And this is someone who doesn't easily talk about the league. But when the day comes that these fans who put their money on your game start to believe that your officials are incompetent, it's going to affect your product. And that will affect your contracts. That will affect your partnerships. You don't want that. And it's easy. So I'm not recommending you do something that's going to cost billions of dollars and it's never been done and there's no way to do it. It's super easy. Wake up because you have a real problem. Second part of the ending is okay, I don't know that I've ever gotten on this podcast and suggested someone be fired. Those jobs are hard. Wait, that's not true. Matt Patricia was my coach for like 3 years. I'm sure you could archive a bunch of podcasts where I asked for somebody to be fired, but that's different. I don't know. I don't know. So, like, I know a lot of Bears fans, right? I work with them. The super producer extraordinaire, Mike Ward, my producer, the godfather of this very podcast, he's a big Bears fan. And I don't know what to do. I think I'm an intelligent football fan. I sat and I watched that. And I believe the phrase WTF came out of my mouth 6 to 8. It was 30 seconds, 28 seconds, right? And for those who missed it somehow or don't know what I'm talking about, they had a timeout. I'm going to say 28 seconds. I could be off. They're in field goal range, right? To tie the game. I think they're in range at this point. And what they could have done, and the guy, there's enough smart people on who would tell me if I'm wrong. Call the timeout at 27 seconds. Run a play. Run any play. You can take a shot at the end zone and try and win this thing. Run a play. If you get your touchdown, you probably win the game. If it's incomplete, the clock stops anyway. If it's complete in the field of play, unless you run the longest play in NFL history, you almost certainly have time to run up, and I don't think it was third down. But even if it was, let's say it wasn't third down. Run up. It might have been third down because I think they clocked it on second. So let's say you get a play, you get some yardage, but the clock's running. There's probably 20 seconds. You got time to run your kick unit on the field. If you are a modicum of understanding of what's happening and you're an NFL football coach, you should have been ready for that. First of all, I don't know that I throw the ball in bounds. I think you take a shot at the end zone or you throw it towards the sideline. Give yourself an opportunity. But with 27 or 28 coming out of a timeout, you're going to run an 8 or 10 second play. You're going to turn to your special teams coordinator and say, have the field goal unit ready to rock because they might have to get out there quick. You practice this. This is the National Football League. This is what you do. How me sitting on the couch gets that? Instead, they decide to, I don't even know what they were doing. Maybe Art or somebody, you guys can tell me. I don't know. I don't know what he was doing. He's waving and he's gesturing the quarterback. He's getting them organized. He could have got a huddle. If you were going to blow the whole 30 seconds, you may as well have huddled. He got them set. I think they snapped the ball with 6 seconds. So they legitimately burned. I don't even think I'm being hyperbolic, saying they burned 20 seconds doing God knows what. They were so ill prepared, so not ready for the moment. And maybe the rookie's going to take the heat. I don't know. Yep, there it is. 487. Soon as rookie. Maybe. I think that's coaching. I think you got the timeout. What good is that timeout doing you right now when you're on the plane flying home? If you're on the plane, because I would have told him you can find a way home yourself. You're done. You find an Uber, bro. The Uber XXL, whatever it takes to get you from downtown Detroit back to Chicago. You're not getting on this plane. That, I don't know. I don't know if you choke under pressure. It's like third year coaching. We won. I don't know why I'm excited. I've never seen it though. Like maybe it exists. Maybe somewhere, someone handled the end of a game as ineptly as this guy did. I don't know that I saw it. I don't know. I don't know. But if there was ever a situation where I would come on this podcast and say he deserves to be fired, it's not, like I said, outside of Matt Patricia, many, many times with Matt Patricia. Outside of that, I don't know if I've said that. I think I would, if we hear he got fired in the locker room and had to Uber back to Chicago, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't criticize them. I don't know how you look your fans in the face, your season ticket holders in the face, and say to them, we're okay with this guy continuing to coach our football team. We think he's the right guy. We think he's smart enough. We think he is adept enough, because I don't know how that happens. I just don't. So those are my things on the end of the game. I thought it was the refs thing still bothers me a little. The Eberflus time management experiment. I can't wait to go find out the explanation. I'm gonna go look at Bears post game, which I would never do. I don't know if he still has his job, but I wouldn't be surprised. All right, let's take 3 questions. I went very long today. Sorry, guys, we're going long. We got to do 3 questions. All right. First one. What do you think other fan bases talk about after the games when their teams play the Lions? Huh. So I think the spirit of that question is we're beating everybody, right? So I would say there's a difference. We talked about losing versus getting beat, right? We know all of that. We've known the first one for a while. And I've always said the same thing. You make mistakes, penalties, turnover, just bad play. That's losing. When you don't play to a reasonable level, you're giving the game to the other team. Turnovers is my biggest indicator of that. That's losing. Getting beat is when the other team is just better. And it kind of almost doesn't matter what you do. And I told somebody I would never have imagined that I would have so many opportunities this year to watch what fundamentally has been like a YouTube video of a grown man beating up a little kid and taking his candy. That's Dallas. That's Tennessee. That's Jacksonville. There's a degree of that last week in Indy. We've gotten to see some of that, and our team is the grown man. We're the bullies. We've been the bullies, right? But I like it. I'm not going to say I don't like it. I don't want you to send me a video of a grown man taking care from a baby. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't mind watching it. But I spent the first 3 years of this podcast talking a lot about how you lose a game, what losing looked like, what losing felt like. Some of it was talent. We just didn't have talent. Some of it was coaching. Most of it was coaching. A lot of it was coaching. I thought we had it, and okay, I'm not gonna beat that guy up 4 years later. Whatever. I hope Matt Patricia's doing fine. But the podcast is usually explaining all of the mistakes the Lions made to lose the game. That's what the podcast was the first 3 years. Occasionally I would get on and I would say, okay, that team was just better. They're never gonna beat that team. They can't beat that team. And the reality is, last week, for a good portion of today, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Dallas, even Green Bay, their fan bases had to just accept it. Acceptance is tough. They had to just accept it, right? And last week, I do little titles for the podcast when I send out the notification. The title of last week's podcast was "The Detroit Lions Are Them." What I meant by them was exactly this, right? Them, the team that every fan base has to wake up Monday morning or Friday morning, occasionally a Tuesday morning, and they have to say, "Hey, we can't beat them. There's no way we could beat them yesterday." Not many teams are going to beat them. Maybe nobody's going to beat them. And so the team next week coming to town from northern Wisconsin, they're saying, well, right now they're getting ready to play a game tonight. But what they're going to be saying Monday and Tuesday is, shit, we got to go play them, right? Because they used to laugh at us. They used to joke. We used to be them. Oh, we get to go play them? We get them? We get to play now. They're in the room. Can we really beat them? How the heck are we going to beat them? Right? It's a different them. It's all caps them. We used to be all lowercase them. Hey, there's 2 wins because we get to play them. Laughing stock. We can buy 5,000 tickets, drive from Wisconsin, and take half the seats in the Silverdome because we're going to play them. Their fans don't pay to see them. Their fans don't come out for them. Now we are, oh shit, we got to go play them. That's where we are now. That's what they're saying. Tomorrow, I'll talk to a bunch of Bears fans soon in a few days, and they're probably going to say, you guys got lucky. We should have won. It's all the shit I used to say about the Lions. I used to say that when the Lions used to lose. So if you're a Bears fan, you can convince yourself that you lost today. You can convince yourself that there was some world where you were better and you should have won that game. Or you can accept that we're them. You don't get to make mistakes like that and beat us because we're them. You don't get to come to our building and play half a football game and steal a win because we're them. So most of the fans of other teams, to directly answer your question, are in the acceptance phase where they're acknowledging, yeah, the Lions are in fact them. And tough to say, not really what you want to say, but we are. So next question. Whew, what can they do at this point to deal with the injuries? That's actually a great question. Um, Jared, oh, I think he's mocking. I was going to call him Jared 16, but I think he's talking about golf. Whoever wrote that in, right? Whatever your name is. That's Brad Holmes' job. Roster construction is the job of my favorite GM. Everybody knows I have an unnatural man crush on Brad Holmes, and it is fully intact. I think that the lame answer, but the accurate answer is next man up. It's cliche, and you hear it all the time. There are players on this roster that have to step up, right? Now, I don't know. We could go down the list and say who do you miss more, but there might be some guy on another team's practice squad, and you're going to hear that we went out and acquired somebody, right? We might call up a guy who's already on our practice squad, whose name you won't know. They might help. I don't think there's some guy at home not working right now that we can just sign, because every team has an injury list, and if that guy's worth a damn, he's on some roster already. But we need some of the guys to get healthy. The defensive line's been decimated. We can't ignore it. But some of it is just step up, right? Think about it. Davenport, gone. And my friend Art made me aware earlier in this podcast that was a bad signing. I think I agree with him because he has a history of injury. And I think Art's point is we should have predicted that Davenport would get hurt, except he's got a new injury before. So I think it's looking like a bad signing, but Hutch is the big one. Kaminsky. You guys remember John Kaminsky? He's pretty good. We miss him. Levi got hurt today. Pascal got hurt today. Bodies are dropping. Barnes, Anzalone, Carlton Davis, Terry and Arnold. I don't use that as an excuse, but the question specifically is about what can you do? And the answer is next man up, right? It is, Zadarius is looking better and better each week. Excuse me. DJ Reader is impactful. That's a signing I like. Aleem McNeil's a Pro Bowler. If you watch Aleem McNeil play every week, I don't care about the stats. He impacts the game. Ooh, got to shake one off. It was that whole rant about the refs, I'm sure. But we just have to get to know new guys. Broderick Martin's going to come back at some point, right? You got to get to know Al-Qadim Muhammad, who I think had a sack today. Maybe a sack and a half. You got to get to know Trevor Nowatzki. You got to know who Zeke Turner is, right? And you're like, who? Yep, that's the answer, right? There's a Tim Patrick on the defense somewhere. That dude who just steps up and he's doing his job. He's doing the job, makes a play here or there, and as a collective unit, all these guys keep making plays, right? So, and sidebar, I remember all the angst over the summer about how we replaced Josh Reynolds. Brad Holmes is really good at his job. Tim Patrick, another good signing, except, Brad Holmes is only good at drafting. Okay, fine. That dude makes 2 or 3 plays every game, and that's all he needed. He literally is doing everything Josh Reynolds did. Everything. But there's a second piece. Aaron Glenn calls a different game. He tweaks based on who we're playing, what they're good at, how he schemes up the defense with the people he has. I talked earlier about how they played a lot more zone today. I think they wanted to challenge the rookie to make plays. He didn't in the first half. He did in the second half. When you have Carlton Davis III and Terry and Arnold back, you get to go back to playing more man. That literally frees up someone that you can scheme differently. You can do more things. You can do different things. You can blitz safeties. You can blitz linebackers because you have 2 guys who can play aggressive man coverage. And Arnold has figured out the PI piece, and he's just a solid man cover corner. And he wasn't even 100% today and played a really good game. So he's scheming around it now. That's why my vote for coordinator of the year, contrary to everyone else, is Aaron Glenn, not Ben Johnson. He has dealt with so injuries at every level, schemed around them, still getting pressure. Like I said, I think we're gonna get really good pressure. You're not in an ideal state, and guess what? Nobody else is. You can scheme around, and I think he's done a great job of that, especially on the defense side of the ball. But what you need is for guys to come back. So the short answer is, guys on the roster step up. You're going to get contributions from Kadeem Muhammad. You're going to get Zeke Turner and you're going to get Nowaski, and these guys are going to make plays. Zadarius is going to keep playing well, and Aleem and Reader are going to keep playing well. That's the answer. It's next man up, and it sucks, but it's also true. So um, that and hopefully you can get Anzalone back before the playoffs. Maybe there's a world where you get Hutch back for a Super Bowl run. Maybe we'll see. All right, last one. Way over, but that's okay. I appreciate everybody. Thumbs up, hearts, all that stuff's appreciated. Please. So when you're playing as well as they are, what's the key to keeping the team motivated? Motivation. If almost losing today doesn't motivate you, not sure what would. I think you have a coach that this is his wheelhouse. This is what he does, right? I'm not worried about motivation, right? When you think about it, I can't imagine anyone on this team feeling great about today or lacking motivation. I think they might be tired because it was a short week. I think they made some mistakes, but they won the game. But that's Dan Campbell's job. I talked about the last question, and I said it's Brad Holmes' job. This is Dan Campbell's job, and he'll do it. There's stuff on the tape. There's stuff to clean up. He knows that. And for the last 3 seasons, for sure, he has demonstrated an exceptional ability to do this job. Right? You should not. When you look at the schedule that I just put up, this is what's left. Right? I don't know how you need motivation, but let's game theory it. Let's walk through. Green Bay. Huh. It's the Packers. What are you talking about? What do we how they've treated us for 30 years? That's your motivation. They beat us last year on Thanksgiving Day. Tremendous motivation. The stupid block of cheese they put on their heads. Right? Right? The quarterback who I started the podcast reminding everyone their former quarterback is the devil. He's the devil, guys. He is. And I'll never forget that stupid Hail Mary. I'll never forget comments he made and stuff he said his last season there when we were coming on strong. And a reporter accidentally said that they still had to play us. And he said, you still got to play a couple of teams that are over 500. And he says, no, Detroit's at 500. I feel like we were, I don't know, 8-8 at the time, something like that. Just dumb little petty stuff like that. That's enough. Forget about the cheeseheads. Forget about last Thanksgiving. I still hate Aaron Rodgers. And I still hold them responsible for him being in the league. There's your motivation. There you go. Number one seed. Oh, by the way, the ultimate motivation. That game needs to be in Detroit this year. That NFC Championship game needs to be in downtown Detroit. That's your motivation every week. You played like crap in the second half against the Bears. There's your motivation. I don't think there is. Buffalo, one of the better teams in the league. You get prime time. It's either going to be 425 or they're going to flex it. Whatever they do, might be too late to flex. Buffalo, you're playing a really good quarterback in Josh Allen. You're playing one of the best teams in the AFC. This could be a Super Bowl preview. You don't need motivation to come home in a primetime game where everybody's going to be watching. You should not need motivation to play well. I don't care if you're 12-1 going into that game. You should not. So I guess the 13-1 team that goes to Chicago for the rematch against the Bears, what's their motivation? Number one seed could be if Philly or Minnesota or whoever keeps winning. The second half of today's game should be the film that you watch, how you almost let that go. Just pride. It's going to be cold. You guys can't play in the cold. All the other bullshit they say about us, and just cementing it. This is a history thing. I said last week, guys, let's not forget to enjoy this journey. They made it a little tough today, but our team has won 10 straight games. They're beating everybody. They're winning in different ways. You don't need motivation to go to Chicago and win. At San Francisco, really? I don't need to talk about that motivation, do I? I will just say, see last January. That's it. I don't care what their record is. I don't care if they fall off and they're not relevant and they're not making the play. Don't care. Don't care. We owe you. We haven't forgotten. Ask Dallas how we treated the last team that screwed us. We owe you. We know we owe you, and you know we owe you. So prepare. I hope you're at full strength, but if you're not, so what? I hope we put up a 50. And then the last game, I honestly don't know that I care about. In a perfect world, we've locked in the 1 seed and everybody gets 2 weeks off. And I don't care if we win or lose that game. So motivation really isn't a question. If we have not secured the number 1 seed throughout the playoffs because Philadelphia continues to play well, Minnesota, Green Bay, whoever it is, I think we'll take care of Green Bay though. Then your motivation is simple. Do you want to have to go to Philadelphia to play the NFC Championship game, or do you want them to have to come to Detroit? I don't think motivation's an issue. It's a good question. But if there's a dude on that roster that struggles with motivation, he probably won't be on that roster long. And I will tell you, I don't know anything. I don't need inside info. I think there was a dude who was struggling with motivation, and he signed with a different team this week after we released him. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I think motivation will be fine. I don't think this team, as long as Dan Campbell's the coach, I don't know that motivation will ever be a struggle for this football team. So all right, we're gonna wrap it up. Went a little longer than normal. Appreciate everybody who joined, who listened. Like I said, a like, a heart, a thumbs up, a share, whatever it is you do, I appreciate it. This is a special season. This is a special organization. This is a special football team, and I'm liking it more and more. Not even 100% today, but we got through it. And we'll be back next Thursday night to do it again, hopefully after a solid thrashing of that team from Northern Wisconsin. Thanks as always to the super producer. Thanks to everybody who joined in, comments, things like that. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving. We got another one, as Khaled would say, another one. Let's keep it going. But remember to enjoy the journey. Don't get locked in on the Super Bowl. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Have a good Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week.